February 2026. The United States executes a military operation that looks, on paper, like total victory. At 6:45 a.m., Israeli jets strike the Supreme Leader's compound in Tehran, initiating a decapitation strike meant to collapse the Iranian regime in a single morning. The primary objective was the complete elimination of the Supreme Leader and his family, removing the head of the command structure before a counter-response could be organized. Within hours, the US and Israel launch over 900 airstrikes. They shred Iran's air force and sink 30 of their warships in just 5 days. By every traditional military metric, the Pentagon achieved the goal: kill the leader, collapse the command, and end the war before it truly begins. But 4 weeks later, oil hits $126 a barrel, and standard shipping insurance is being pulled from the entire region. The markets are reacting to a reality the Pentagon missed. To understand why, you have to look at the center of gravity. It's the core structural support that holds a system together. If you misidentify it, you can destroy every target on your list and still lose the war. America executed a flawless strategy for a 20th century conflict, but they failed to recognize that their enemy's modern center of gravity wasn't located in a single office in Tehran. The American playbook assumed that the Iranian regime operated on a strict top-down chain of command that would paralyze without a central head. But the 86-year-old leader stayed at his desk to die. In Shia Islam, this converted a military defeat into a martyrdom. Instead of collapsing the chain of command, the strike decentralized it, giving every regional cell the religious authority to act on its own. Furthermore, the airstrikes devastated progressive, educated hubs like Tehran and Isfahan. While the urban populations most likely to support a regime change were being bombed, the religious hardliners remained untouched, safely hidden in the mountains. By destroying the very social class that could have served as internal allies, the strike unified the surviving population behind the hardline remnants of the regime. Iran responded by bypassing the US military to target its financial center of gravity, the Gulf states. These countries sell oil in US dollars and invest in American assets, acting as the invisible scaffolding of the petrodollar system. These cities have a specific structural vulnerability. In Dubai, 90% of the population consists of foreign workers on employment visas. They have no long-term loyalty to the land. When surgical drone strikes hit civilian hubs and hotels, those expats didn't stay to fight. They packed their bags and headed for the airport. By triggering a mass exodus of the workforce, Iran effectively pulled the battery out of the regional economy without ever fighting a pitched battle. On March 2nd, Iran moved to close the Strait of Hormuz. It is a 21-mile wide gap where 20% of the world's daily oil supply passes. The financial reaction was immediate. Insurance premiums spiked to 5% of a ship's value, meaning a single trip for an oil tanker now cost an additional $5 million. Traffic plummeted 81% in a single week. This blockade stopped oil from leaving the Gulf, but it also prevented essential food and medicine from entering the region. Iran used geography to create a chokehold on an empire that had built its financial center in a desert unable to feed itself. Ultimately, the conflict moved beyond a contest of firepower into a war of simple arithmetic. The Shahed 136 drone costs roughly $50,000 to produce. Iran builds up to 500 a month and launches them from ordinary flatbed trucks that disappear before satellites can track them. To defend against this cheap piece of flying plastic, the US uses Patriot missiles that cost $4 million per shot. This creates an unsustainable cost ratio. For every dollar Iran spends on a drone, America spends up to $200 to shoot it down. Beyond cost, there's the manufacturing limit. The US cannot build complex interceptors as fast as Iran manufactures cheap drones. 1 month into the conflict, the regime has not collapsed. It has consolidated under the dead leader's son, Mojtaba Kameh. America is trapped. If they walk away, the Gulf states lose faith in US protection and the petrodollar cracks. But if they stay, they are forced to burn millions every day defending against drones that cost less than a used car. An empire built on multi-billion-dollar military supremacy cannot survive when the enemy uses the empire's own economic weight to crush it.